Welcome to the Forex, Crypto and Stock courses. This is the first ever complete step-by-step Forex, Crypto and Stock free courses that presents to you by Meta Online Business Club. If you want to watch this course for free, please subscribe our channel now. The content of this course is only for educational purposes. It is not any financial advices. Forex, Crypto and Stock courses content. Still we are in the chapter 1. In this chapter, we are studying about the money. Chapter 1. Money. We already have studied the lesson 1, which was about the history of the money. In this lesson, we study how, where, and when the money invented and how it developed. The second lesson was about gold standard. And today, we are on the third lesson. In this lesson, we study the Bretton Woods and Nixon shock. The Bretton Woods Agreement was negotiated in July 1944 by delegates from 44 countries at the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference held in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. That's why it's called Bretton Woods Agreement. Let's start the lesson 3. World War I, the Great Depression of 1930 and World War II were the major obstacles against global economic growth in 20th century. But on the other hand, all these disasters created an opportunity for the United States to fill its gold reserve and allowed the US to become the world's biggest manufacturer and exporter country with the highest surplus and highest GDP among the other countries, because while the other nations, especially European countries and Japan, were the battlefields, US lands were far away from front line of war. Most of the countries, especially US allies, import their needed goods from United States, and the balance settlement were paid by gold to the US as per gold standard system, which we have discussed it in previous lesson. Gold standard balance settlement system allowed the US to have the 75% of all world official gold reserve at the end of World War II, and US had 35% of the world economic output after the World War II. So for better understanding of this lesson, I would suggest you to watch our previous lesson regarding the gold standard. In the 4th year of World War II, most of the warring countries' gold reserves were drained because of war expenses or become very minimal to comply with the gold standard due to the high balance deficits, and there was only United States which could fully act as per gold standard. The rest of the nation, especially US allies, had to start negotiations with the US to find solutions for backing their money and recovering their deficits and improving their bankrupt economies. At that time, the only currency strong enough to meet the rising demands for international currency transactions was the United States dollar. The strength of the US economy, the fixed relationship of the dollar to the gold at $35 per ounce, and the commitment of the US government to convert dollars into gold at the fixed price made the dollar as good as gold. In fact, the dollar was even better than gold. It earned interest and it was more flexible than gold. While World War II was still being fought, 730 delegates from all 44 allied nations, including Canada, Western European countries, Australia, and Japan, gathered at the Mount Washington Hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, United States, for a financial conference, also known as the Bretton Woods Conference, with the principal goal of creating an official foreign exchange system, preventing competitive devaluation of currencies, and promoting international economic growth. The delegates deliberated from 1 to 22 July 1944, as the United States had 2/3 of the world's official gold reserve and was insisting to fix the dollar exchange rate to gold at $35 per ounce, and the other countries shall fix their currencies rates to dollar. Britain was suggesting that the reserve currency would be the bunker, which was defined as the world currency unit, proposed by John Maynard Keynes as a leader of British delegations in Bretton Woods, but at the end, US dollar accepted as the world reserve currency. Finally, the Bretton Woods Agreement, signed in 22 July 1944. What emerged in the Bretton Woods system was the pegged rate currency regime as per US proposal. Bretton Woods pegged rate currency regime. All the 44 US allied countries agreed dollar pegged to gold at the price of $35 per ounce, and other countries had to peg against the US dollar with the diversion of only plus minus 1% allowed. Bretton Woods established system of payment based on the dollar, which defined all currencies in relation to the dollar, and dollar was convertible into gold. US currency in Bretton Woods system effectively became the world key currency, which the most international transactions were denominated in US dollar. The Bretton Woods Agreement also created two important organizations, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and IBRD, International Bank of Reconstruction and Development, which today is part of the World Bank Group. IMF. The IMF was monitoring the international settlement and transaction rate according to the Bretton Woods system regulation. IBRD, the World Bank, initially called the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, was established to manage funds available for providing assistance to countries that had been physically and financially devastated by World War II. 6 years after World War II and Bretton Woods Agreement, from 1950 to 1969, Germany and Japan recovered. The US share of the world's economic output dropped significantly, from 35% to 27%. Furthermore, a negative balance of payment, growing public debt incurred by the Vietnam War, and monetary inflation by the Federal Reserve caused the dollar to become increasingly overvalued in 1960. And it was growing fears that the foreign nations would start redeeming their dollar-denominated asset for gold and made converting dollars to the gold more desirable. On October 20, 1960, in London market, gold price reached to the $40 an ounce, exacerbating the threat to the Bretton Woods system. In response, two actions were taken by the United States to control the foreign exchange or forex prices. The first action was taken in March 1961. The United States Treasury Exchange Stabilization Fund (ESF), with the Federal Reserve Bank of New York acting as its agent, began to intervene in the foreign exchange market for the first time since World War II. The ESF buys and sells foreign exchange currency to stabilize conditions in exchange rate market. While the interventions were successful for a short time, the Treasury, due limited resources, couldn't defend the broad dollar. The second effort was formation of London Gold Pool on November 1, 1961. The pool consists of a group of 8 central banks: Great Britain, Western Germany, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Belgium, Italy, France, and United States, in order to keep price of gold at 35 an ounce. The group agreed to pool gold reserves to intervene in the London gold market in order to maintain the Bretton Woods system. The pool was successful for 6 years until another gold crisis ensued in 1968. The British pound sterling devalued, another run on gold occurred, and France withdrew from the pool on 1968. By 1966, 9 U.S. central banks held $14 billion, while the United States had only $13.2 billion in gold reserves. Of those reserves, only $3.2 billion was able to cover foreign holding, as the rest was covering domestic holdings. As you see here, United States had only $13.2 billion gold in reserve, but the dollar, which was held by foreign banks in abroad, it was $14 billion. It shows that the United States was printing dollar double than it is gold reserve. And at the end, United States came up with the $10 billion gold deficits. So this created lack of confidence to the convertibility of dollar to the gold. The gold pool collapsed in March 1968, as member nations were reluctant to cooperate fully in maintaining the market price at the US price of gold $35 per ounce. In the following years, both Belgium and Netherlands cashed in dollars for gold, with the Germany and France expressing similar intentions from United States to be paid in gold against their reserve dollar, because according to the Bretton Woods system, the dollar conversion to gold has been granted by United States. In August of 1971, Britain requested to be paid in gold. US saw its gold reserve steadily drop as money flowed to war-torn nations and its own high demands for imports, and couldn't fully adapt to Bretton Woods monetary system. On the other hand, the high inflation environment of the late 1960s sucked out the last bit of year from the gold standard. While the United States was in the midst of terrifying dilemma, it was also facing a growing problem of inflation at home. The period that became known as Great Inflation had started and policymakers had put anti-inflation policies in place, but they were short-lived and ineffective. At first, both the Nixon administrations and the Federal Reserve believed in a gradual approach, slowly lowering inflation with the minimum increase in unemployment. In 1960, the US inflation was lower than 2%, but from 1969 up to the 1970, it reached 6%. But in 1980, it reached almost 14%, which shows 600% increase in the inflation compared to the 1960. The United States economic policymakers were thinking they would tolerate an unemployment rate up to 4.5%, but by the end of 1969 to 1970 recessions, the unemployment rate had climbed to 6%, and inflation, as measured by the Consumer Price Index, was 4.5%. US had to find any quick solutions, but unfortunately, there wasn't any solution unless to stop the Bretton Woods system dollar fixed price convertibility to close. In this chart, which shows the United States unemployment rate from 1950 to 2020, if we compare the unemployment of 1950 to the 1970 or at the 1980, it shows the increase of almost 500%. 1971 Nixon shock. Before we start this part, please subscribe our channel now and hit the notification button to watch our course for free. With the inflations on the rise and gold run looming, Nixon administration coordinated a plan for bold actions. From August 13 to 15, 1971, Nixon and 15 advisors, including Federal Reserve Chairman, Treasury Secretary, and Undersecretary for International Monetary Affairs, met at Camp David and created a new economic plan. On the evening of August 15, 1971, Nixon addressed the nation on a new economic policy that was not only intended to correct the balance of payment but also lower the unemployment rate and inflation. On the evening of August 15, 1971, Nixon's first order was for the gold window to be closed. Foreign governments could not longer exchange their dollars for gold. The international monetary system turned into a fiat one, ending the Bretton Woods by Nixon, called Nixon shock, that created a big turbulence in the foreign exchange, and it was beginning of emerging the fiat money or unbacked money system. The second order was for a 90 days freeze on the wages and prices to check inflation. It was an attempt to bring down inflation without increasing the unemployment rate or slowing the economy. In addition, an import surcharge was set at 10% to ensure that American products would not be at the disadvantage because of exchange rate. After the Nixon shock in March 1973, the G10 countries approved an arrangement where 6 members of the European countries tied their currencies together and jointly floated against the United States dollar, a decision that effectively signaled the abandonment of Bretton Woods fixed exchange rate system in favor of the current system of floating exchange rate. From the Nixon shock 1971 to date, as a trader, you must always keep in mind the following as a master plan of online or forex trading. 1. From 1971, all monies which are printing by government, they are fiat money and not supporting by gold. Second, the exchange rate determines in the open market or floating exchange rates. Third, in the floating exchange rate, it is the nation's economic growth power, monetary management system, and government policies which specifies the exchange rate in the open market. So as a trader, first of all, you should understand how money works and which factors specify the money value and exchange rate. On the fundamental lessons, we will discuss all this in detail. Follow us and subscribe our channel now to learn the online trading for free step by step.